shopping in the middle of the day, walking through the park on a Tuesday afternoon. Friends take vacations seemingly without second thought. Neighbors buy new cars. Coworkers seem to be doing just fine despite earning the same paycheck as you. Looking around, it's pretty easy to get the impression that a lot of people have plenty of money. But it raises an obvious question. If all of those people stopped working tomorrow, how many of them would actually be okay? How many households have enough money saved that they could quit their jobs today and never need another paycheck? Not retire at 65, not retire after a few more years of saving. We're talking about right now. Most people don't think in terms of total accumulated wealth at all. They think in terms of total monthly working income. They don't wonder, could I maintain this lifestyle if I quit working? Instead, they think, can I pay for this vacation, this car, this larger home with my income? As long as the paycheck covers the bills, there isn't much reason to mentally translate that into how large a portfolio would be required to replace it. If the goal is to stop working immediately and cover today's spending entirely from existing savings, the answer turns out to be much lower than most people expect. And when you start running the numbers, that's exactly what stands out. Not just how difficult it would be, but how few households are actually positioned for it to replace it. So even households that are doing reasonably well financially may not ever frame their situation in terms of whether it could last without a job, even if that's the exact underlying question. So to answer our question, you first need to look at what households actually live on day to day. Not income, not what people hope to make, but what actually goes out the door in spending each year. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average American household spends just under $80,000 per year. That covers everything, from housing and transportation to food, healthcare, utilities, insurance, and all the other expenses that make up everyday life. Some spend much more and some spend much less, but this gives you an idea of what the typical household requires. Now, $80,000 doesn't necessarily sound extraordinary. In most parts of the country, it describes an ordinary middle-class lifestyle. It's pretty easy to spend $80,000 per year without thinking much about it, especially if you have kids. Housing alone can take up a large portion of that. A mortgage payment on a regular home, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance can easily add $4,000 per month or $48,000 per year. 2 cars that are financed, insured, fueled, and maintained can easily cost over $1,000 per month each. Then you add groceries, healthcare, utilities, entertainment, and everything else that comes with running a household, and the number adds up very fast. The important part isn't whether $80,000 feels high or low. The important part is that this is what it actually takes on average for a household to function today. And right now, that spending is being funded by income. While you're working, the system is simple. Money comes in, expenses go out, and the difference is whatever gets saved or invested. But if you stop working, that income stream disappears instantly. The spending doesn't. So the question becomes, how do you replace it? This is where the math starts to matter. To estimate this, we'll use the 4% guideline, the most common retirement guideline based on historical market data. It suggests that if you have a diversified portfolio, typically a mix of half stocks and half bonds, you may be able to withdraw about 4% per year, adjusted for inflation, with a solid chance that the money lasts for decades. It's not a guarantee, and outcomes can vary depending on market conditions and time horizon, but it provides a useful starting point for turning a lump sum of savings into annual income. Using that framework, an $80,000 annual spending level requires roughly $2 million invested. And that's where things start to feel different. Most people hear $2 million and immediately recognize it as a large amount of money. But what's less obvious is how far away that number actually is for most people. To put it into perspective, a household with $500,000 invested is already doing extremely well compared to the general population. But relative to $2 million, it's only 1/4 of the way there. Even a household with $1 million invested, which is a rare and exciting milestone in relation to the overall population, is quite a ways off. But at the same time, it's not unusual to see the same households commit to $1,000 or $1,500 car payments for the next 5 or 6 years without much. A lot of people would say something like they could never realistically build $2 million, even though it doesn't require as much in monthly contributions as they'd initially think, years, but without much hesitation. And zooming out even further, the median amount households actually have saved, specifically for retirement, is just around $87,000. Not less than $1 million, not even close to a few $100,000, less than 6 figures set aside for retirement. Compared to a $2 million target, it's not even in the same category. It's more than 20 times smaller than what would be needed just to fund an average level of spending without working and without any other income sources. Another way to think about this is in terms of trade-offs. A long-term monthly commitment, like a new car payment, may not feel like it has anything to do with long-term wealth. But over the course of a career, consistently redirecting that same amount into investments can grow into something in the scale of a couple $1,000,000. So the share of households that could fund that income with their retirement savings turns out to be very small. Roughly 1 to 2 out of every 100 households have $2 million or more in retirement accounts, like 401ks and IRAs. That means more than 98% of households are below that level. So if the question is how many households could actually stop working today and live entirely off what they have saved, the answer is about 1.8%. At first glance, that number can feel surprisingly low, because if only a small percentage of households can fully replace their spending with investments, it raises an obvious question. How does anyone actually retire? Most people aren't trying to replace their entire working life spending purely with investment withdrawals, and when people actually reach retirement age, the situation changes in a few important ways. Spending tends to come down a little, not because people suddenly change who they are, but because certain expenses disappear naturally. There's no commuting, no work-related costs like transportation, clothing, or daily meals outside the home. In many cases, housing costs are lower too, either because a mortgage is paid off or because people downsize into something smaller and simpler. Another way to think about this shift is that the structure of spending itself changes. A working household has a lot of built-in costs tied to earning income in the first place, while a retired household is no longer paying for that structure. Plus, retired people often spend more than just 4% of their portfolio each year. They don't need to stretch their money across multiple decades in the same way someone retiring early would, and many end up adjusting withdrawals based on actual needs rather than a fixed percentage rule. On top of all that, Social Security provides a base layer of income. For most retired people, it covers a large amount of everyday expenses. It's not designed to replace a full working income, but it does reduce how much needs to come from savings by a lot. So when you combine those three things, the amount that has to come from investments is often much lower than the full $80,000 figure used earlier. In many cases, the gap that needs to be filled for older people might be closer to $20,000 to $40,000 per year rather than a full household spending level. That's why traditional retirement is achievable for many households, even if very few could stop working earlier in life and maintain their exact current lifestyle without any adjustments. So if the question is how many households could actually stop working today and use their retirement savings to fund what the average household spends each year, or how many households are financially free when using the average spending, the answer is not a quarter of households, not 1 in 10, not even 1 in 20, just 1 to 2 out of every 100, about 1.8%. What about you? Could you quit working today and have enough income to fund the average retirement spending?